BYD, three letters that signify build your dreams. And since December 2022, BYD has sold over 20,000 electric vehicles in Malaysia. Now that's a very significant achievement in creating affordable EVs for the masses. Now with the BYD Atto 2, can BYD replicate that same success? My name is CY, and ladies and lads, allow me to walk you through BYD's latest baby. As the name suggests, the Atto 2 is the younger brother to the Atto 3, and it positions alongside the Dolphin as the most affordable BYD in Malaysia. There's only one variant, and this premium starts from 100,000 ringgit. Now that price sounds very much attractive. Factor in with Proton and Perodua coming in with their EVs, which will cost less than 100,000 ringgit. The Atto 2 seems like a commendable choice for now. Looks-wise, the Atto 2 and the Atto 3 looks almost familiar in front. By the way, do you know that in China, the BYD Atto 2 is sold under the BYD Dynasty series alongside its bigger brother? Both the Atto 2 and the Atto 3 are called the Yuan Up and the Yuan Plus, respectively. But anyway, back to the front, you can see that these DRLs, they are very reminiscent to the BYD Atto 3. Around the back, you can see the floating roof sort of feel similar to the Atto 3, but everything else is an Atto 2 original. Like this chunky looking cladding, which is made of plastic, that's an original. And also there's this also very interesting looking helical-like design. So overall, the Atto 2 might seem conservative, might seem plain, not adventurous enough. But I have another word to define this whole aesthetic: mature. Allow me to explain with the interior. Joining me inside the Atto 2, and you can see like there's a very mature, very simple interior. There are no muscle sort of like trims as you see in the Atto 3 or guitar strings. Not much of a gimmick inside, but you still get the rotating screen which is BYD trademark. But apparently this is the last model that has the BYD rotating screen, because after this every single model is going to be like just have the fixed landscape mode. Materials are pretty much good, better than the Dolphin, if I may say so. The materials are very well made, very soft to touch. There's nothing that feels cheap inside. Even though this is the base BYD model in Malaysia, everything still feels sophisticated. It feels quite, I wouldn't say luxurious, it's just right for 100,000 ringgit. And speaking of gimmicks, this car also comes with a karaoke system. I'm not going to demonstrate singing for you, because thankfully there's no microphones here. But apparently it's an option, you can get it. But for now, I'll just stick it to my music through CarPlay or Android Auto. Okay, like every single modern car, unfortunately, it's a very minimalistic sort of setup. So even your controls for the AC are all on the screen. But BYD has come up with a very interesting solution for those people who, like me, kept complaining about, oh, you should retain buttons, you should retain knobs to control the AC. Unfortunately, that's the standard these days, is putting everything all on the screen. But as I said, BYD has a solution. So all you need to do is 3 fingers. You swipe down to control the temperature, or you can swipe left to right for the fan speed. Now, it's not the most intuitive compared to knobs and buttons, but for a start, it's somewhere, I guess. Also, as you can see, Atto 2 comes standard with a wireless charger, and there's also ventilated seats for the front seats. Yeah, everything is all pretty much conventional, as you can get for a 100,000 ringgit EV. That's for the front. How does it feel at the back? Well, in simple terms, it's quite decent. This is my driving position. I'm 173 centimeters tall. There is quite enough legroom in the back, and also a decent amount of headroom. But my only other gripe is that when you're sitting, it feels like you're squatting down. So like you can see, there's quite a lot of thigh space here. So For long distance journeys, it's not going to be comfortable, but this is, I assume, is made for city driving, and with the range, which I will explain later, it is really more comfortable within the city rather than driving long distance. Not to say that it's impossible to drive long distance, it's just that it's not really made for long distance driving. Other features is a single air vent, chargers for USB-A and a USB-C, and also you put this down, get an armrest and 2 cup holders, and also a lot of pocket space. So one other advantage the Atto 2 has, being an SUV, is that it is more practical than the Dolphin. Open the boot and you get 400 liters worth of boot space, which is adjustable, and you can actually move up the height, whether you want it to have less room right now or more room for taller items. But there's one more issue with the Atto 2, and it's that there is no power tailgate, so you have to close it manually, which is quite heavy, to be honest. By the way, before you drive the Atto 2, this color is called Breeze Green. Let us know what you think about it. I think it's quite fashionable, it's quite trendy, like pickleball. How does the Atto 2, a 100,000 ringgit EV, feel like to drive? Well, for one, it's not as bad as you think. Steering is not too vague, surprisingly. There is a little bit of feel when you're turning in. I think that's good when you're driving around the city. But on highways, I'm not so sure about that. Because performance-wise, this has a 177 PS, 290 Newton meter electric motor, which is decent enough. But in terms of range, the NEDC is rated at 410 kilometers, which in the more realistic WLTP estimates, it's about 350 kilometers. And that means if you're going long distance, you will probably need to find a place to charge the car on the way. But if you're just using this as a city car, it's not a problem. Not a problem at all. And it is packed with features. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a karaoke function, or karaoke, as the Malaysians pronounce it. There is also active safety features. You got your ADAS as usual. You have lane keep assist, you have your ACC. But funnily enough, the Atto 2 does not come with a blind spot monitor, which is strange because it's 2025. Those should come as standard as airbags and seatbelts. But yet here we are in a 100,000 ringgit electric car, and somehow BYD Malaysia decide not to bring in the blind spot monitors. The features are available in Europe, but just that we're not getting in Malaysia. Hopefully, if the Atto 2 is considered for CKD, maybe they might add blind spot monitors. On the other hand, we do get a bigger battery than the Europeans. We have a 51 kilowatt hour battery. I will share the range, the real world range later on. But yeah, this is decent. The ride is fine. It's not too harsh. When you go over undulations, it feels pretty pliant, pretty composed. Let's see how it is going over the hump. Decent enough. That being said, as comfortable as the ride is, I'm not so sure how it's going to feel for those at the back, because the thigh support is not exactly great in the back, and for long distance, you're like in a squatting position for so long, you will not feel comfortable. You definitely will want to tell the driver to like pull aside on the road to have a break. But at least up front and in the driver's seat, it feels nice. Now, I'm not so sure how Perodua EV is going to drive like, because we're going to wait for that. That's easily one of the most highly anticipated cars in Malaysia. An EV that will cost less than 100,000 ringgit. It's definitely going to attract a lot of attention. But I would say that, well, compared to what we have right now, meaning that in this price range, you can have the BYD Dolphin, and if you really dig a bit deeper, there is the Neta V and also the Dongfeng Box. Out of those three, really, the Dolphin is the only feasible alternative to the Atto 2. Once stocks in Malaysia run out, that's it. There is no more Dolphin. This car essentially replaces the Dolphin. the price is similar to the base Dolphin, but it is in almost every regard a better car. So yeah, if you're choosing between the Atto2 or the Dolphin in terms of price, this has the advantage. In terms of looks, subjective, the Atto2 does not look as exciting as even the Dolphin. It looks just like a shrunken Atto3, but yeah, like I guess it feels like a no-brainer if you're choosing between the Atto2 and the Dolphin. Like, which is the better car to get? Better EV or 100,000 ringgit, mind you. Still, speaking of the price, BYD will probably lump in rebates, and at this moment you can get one for, inclusive of rebates, you can get one for less than 90,000 ringgit, which is, well, attractive if you are looking for like your first EV. As much as I don't like to say it, it's inevitable that every single car is going to be filled with screens, because apparently that's what the consumers want. It's always advisable not to look at your screen while driving and not to look at your phone while driving. And here are some brands that are seemingly encouraging you to swap out the knobs, the buttons, embrace screens. Maybe some of the tech bros going to say like, yeah, embrace the screens and all that. Why stay being old school? Well, I can tell you that sometimes being old school is mostly tinged with nostalgia, but at the same time, it's just also like, why fix something that is not broken in the first place? Even though the Atto2 does not have a blind spot monitor, I would say the visibility is quite good, quite decent. You can see your surroundings quite easily. You can pay attention to those errant motorcyclists who like to weave in and out, or motorists who don't use their signal, just suddenly cut into the lane and all. The side mirrors are quite well designed, so you can see what's out and all that. But really, I think the blind spot monitor is probably needed, even though visibility is quite good around.
For the real-world energy consumption tests, we traveled nearly 140 kilometers in a mix of stop-start traffic and smooth highway conditions. It took 25 minutes to charge the Atto2 from 46% to 85% via a 180 kilowatt DC fast charger, which adds around 140 kilometers of range. That said, if you're traveling long distance in the Atto2, you will need to plan charging routes along your destination route. This is still more of an urban BEV despite the practicality. The acceleration feels rather natural. Despite the high torque figures at 290 Nm, you get a gradual acceleration even when you push the throttle. Overtaking feels brisk, and your passengers will not get a sudden jolt when putting your foot down the accelerator.
There you have it. Those are my thoughts on the BYD Atto2. For 100,000 ringgit, it's a compelling electric car, and it makes perhaps a good alternative for those who cannot wait for the upcoming Perodua EV or the Proton EV. It's an exciting looking SUV, and it has a lot of decent features with decent range around the city. But what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments, and make sure to like, share, and subscribe to WapCar.